Alright guys, so what I have here are two fuel filters from a Ford 1920 tractor. And the reason I have two is because I have two motors. One of my motors was blown. The other one has awful rings, so it's coming back out today, hopefully. But I've had this persistent fuel leak, and when I put in the motor, I replaced all the filter and the O-rings that were in the housing and the filter. And it was still leaking, and the reason it was still leaking is because I believe the old O-ring on the valve, the on-off valve, was old and full of grit and disgusting. It's still pliable, but I'm just going to put a bet on that being the reason it was leaking. And I'm going to put in this new one. This is a silicone gasket rather than a rubber one. And let's see here, the housing, there's a little rubber thing in here. Don't forget to put that back in there. Take a look at that real quick. And then the valve goes in here. Just make sure it's nice and flush and it's not binding on the way in. And here, and I'm going to put a little bit of some silicone. This is for brake lubrication, but it's just silicone grease is what it is. And I'm going to put some of that on there one-handed. I'm trying not to make too big of a mess here. Alright, now put that back into the housing. Alright, make sure it looks nice in there. It does. Okay, and then we have a little a washer. It's kind of like a lock washer, I guess you'd call it that. When this thing compresses, or when it gets crushed back down from the bolts, it's going to put a lot of pressure on this valve and kind of make it give it a certain feel to it. So that goes over the valve. And then we have this little thing. This is basically a little stop, and it also tells me what on and off is. And this is the plate that holds everything together. So we're going to put that back on. And that's it, guys. So you're going to screw these back in. I was working on this one initially because the housing looks better. But the screws are stripped, and I'm not going to deal with it anymore. So just setting this one aside. This will be my one I plan to use. So it doesn't look as pretty on top. I could wire wheel it, but I'm kind of over wire wheeling things. Let's just use them and get them back into service. Because once you get out in the field, it's going to get all nasty anyway. So anyway, so I'm going to start these bolts by hand, get everything back together, and maybe we'll have a follow-up video later on when I get this new motor in. This thing running and hopefully not leaking, because diesel leaks suck. Alright guys, you got this problem, or you're working on your fuel filter, consider replacing the O-ring inside of the valve too while you're in there. Good luck, see you later.